For thousands of years, man has been crossing the mighty Columbia River in Washington state at what is referred to as the Keller Crossing in a wide variety of watercraft. From canoes, barges, and cable ferries to steam and diesel-powered ferries, the need to cross the Columbia has remained constant, even if the methods have varied. After the 1942 completion of the Grand Coulee Dam downstream from the Keller Crossing, the need arose for a larger, more dependable vessel to cross the new Lake Roosevelt created by the dam. This need was filled by the Martha S. Ferry. Constructed by the Hydraulic Supply Manufacturing Company of Seattle at a cost of $61,500, the Martha S. was put into service in 1948.
The Martha was built in 47, 48, and put into service in 1948. Previously, they had a tug and a barge, and when the lake come up, they knew that they were going to have a bigger, better vessel. They built a side wheeler. It was named the McLeod, and it was, with all intents and purposes, it was supposed to fill the niche. However, with all the trash and debris, they spent about as much time replacing the paddles in the side wheels as they did going back and forth across. So they figured that it was not going to do the job, and that's when Martha S. was conceived.
In 2013, at the end of its 65 years of service, this hard-working, diminutive ferry was logging over 36,000 miles a year on its 2.5-mile round trip of the Keller Crossing between Lincoln County and Ferry County. The Martha S. Ferry, named after Martha Shane, the wife of State Highway Director Clarence Shane, has changed little in its appearance from its first days. The addition of modern navigation equipment, safety improvements, and updated engines are all that separate the Martha S. of 2013 from the Martha S. of 1948. At any time between 1948 and 2013, if you made the trip from the nearby town of Wilbur and followed the rural winding Highway 21 as it snakes through the local wheat fields and farmlands of northeastern Washington, all the way down to the bank of Lake Roosevelt on the Columbia River, you would find the Martha S., often referred to as the Keller Ferry, doing exactly what it did almost every day for 65 years. With no schedule to follow, the Martha S. picked up any passengers when they arrived and delivered them to the other side.
We operate, as people know, from 6 a.m. till midnight. We really don't have a schedule, and it really works out best because oftentimes when traffic is slow, we can sit on one side or the other. We may wait for 10, 15 minutes and somebody will come down on that side and we take them across. And then we may sit there for 20 minutes, half hour, and somebody will come down the opposite side, we'll crank up, go across empty, and haul traffic.
Whether only one passenger or a full load, the Martha S. tirelessly journeyed back and forth across Lake Roosevelt until day's end. Heavy fog, ice, and high winds sometimes made the crossing more eventful than others. But the Martha proved itself, while perhaps not beautiful in appearance, rugged, dependable, and more than able to fulfill its duties.
I grew up in Wilbur, and my dad, who is Bert Finch, was a maintenance lead tech out of the Wilbur shop. And he worked as a pilot on the Keller Ferry as part of his lead tech duties from 1955 to 1986. During the time I was growing up, oftentimes I would go down and ride with him on the ferry. The fun part of riding with him was having him let you drive the ferry. So having the big ship wheel that you have in your hands, a big wooden wheel, and it just felt like you had so much control and power of this ship. But he would never let me do it when there were cars. So it was always empty ferries going across from one side to the other. So those are memories you always have. One year it was really cold on the lake, and they would have to keep the ferry going 24 hours at a time to keep the channel open from freezing.
And then we had freezing, and probably 3 times in the 50s the lake froze over to the point where we would have to run continuous 24 hours a day.
My dad would be going back and forth all night long, and early in the morning I'd go down and get on the ferry with him, and the first path across the lake he would take the ferry out into the ice, and you'd see it cracking as a ferry crosses the ice.
So 24 hours the Martha was running back and forth.
Whether running continuously all night in icy waters, or delivering a school bus full of children on a warm morning in June, the Martha S served for 65 years, bridging the gap between 2 communities and providing safe passage across the mighty Columbia River. A simple vessel built in a simpler time in America. A tip of the hat to days gone by, the Martha S reminded us it's not only okay to slow down and appreciate all the beauty around us. It's a darn good idea. Even though the Martha S exceeded its expected service life by 5 years, increasing repairs, hard-to-find replacement parts, insufficient load capacity, and an outdated hull design meant the Martha S would be replaced, which it was on August 14th, 2013, by the beautiful new Sandpoil. But after 65 years of faithful service, it is certain that from the farmers of Wilbur to the south, to the Colville tribe to the north, all who crossed Lake Roosevelt will not soon forget the hard-working little Martha S. Ferry.